Welcome to this week's Swerve. I'm your host, Thomas Lerve. Thanks for joining me here in Occupy Lervekins. That's what we call my townhome. I was in Boston this week. Didn't get a chance really to do the Swerve there because it was cold and rainy. Let's be honest, my view from the hotel room faced another building, so wasn't much to do there. But I thought, in honor of seeing all the Occupy Boston people out there, I thought I'd occupy my own place here. I have no idea why I'm doing this or why those guys are doing it at all. I just know that they're getting tons of money to sleep in tents. So, hey, sleeping in a tent, some major corporation, give me some love. That's all I'm saying. Hey, we're going into week 7 of fantasy football. Hopefully by now you know a little bit more about your team, who they are and who they aren't. So let's get right to it. Last week I did predictions on every single game, and half of you guys proved me right, and half of you proved me wrong, including myself. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I went 10-11 last week. And, you know, right around this time of year, you start looking at your schedule and you start saying to yourself, well, how did I lose that game? And so I've got this week's the agony. Got 2 different matchups that I wanted to just talk about real quick. One was in our Heatherstone League. It was Godspeed, Jeremy Reeves' team, versus Bucks the Trend and Scott Lott's. Heavily contested matchup. A little bit of a shootout overall, but the final score ended up being 101-100. Godspeed over Buck the Trend. And I thought, you know, you start to look at your lineup and think, what did I do wrong? Why did I lose? What could I have done better? So when I look here, for Scott, unfortunately, Matt Stafford rushed for 9 yards. Think about it. He was 1 yard away from getting you 1 extra fantasy point, Scott. And when I looked at the Detroit-San Francisco game from last week, last drive, Detroit's down 6, first down. What does Matt Stafford do? He drops back. Oh, he gets sacked for 8 yards. So he loses 8 yards on the play. So he must have had 17 rushing yards before. Now he's got 9. Loses Scott a point, and ultimately that prevented him from getting a tie. But I think the big one overall was probably his tight end play. He's got 2 Davises on his team. He's got Vernon Davis for San Francisco, and then he's got Fred Davis for Washington. He played the wrong one. Vernon gets him 9 yards. Fred Davis, 95. So, sorry, Scott. Congrats, Jeremy Reeves, on your win. You're a hell of a player, and you're too skinny. So eat a burger. The other the agony of the week was in the long distance league, a matchup I talked about last week. No smack talk, nothing. They both saw each other at the wedding this past week. I'm talking about Chris Stuckey and his pack-to-back versus Ed Calandriello. I know how to say your name, bro. I'm just giving you a hard time. And his team called the U second string. We play in this league where a yard gets you 1/10 of a point in rushing. So instead of that whole, you got to get 10 yards to get a point. If you get 9 yards, you get 0.9 points, right? So here's the final score. Stuckey wins 118.34 to Ed's 118.14. Yeah, you heard me right. 2 yards. 2 yards receiving, 2 yards rushing separated these guys overall. You know, I looked at it at the matchup here. Stuck, you had dropped him a lineup. Bye weeks hurt you a little bit. So great job playing the guys that weren't on bye. Nice job. Ed had his San Francisco defense on the bench score 3 more points than Baltimore, and I think we all would have played Baltimore over San Francisco. So not a bad play there. You know, with San Francisco going up against Detroit, it's a big matchup, high octane. I get that. But the New York wide receivers for the Giants really let Ed down. So sorry to hear about that, Victor Cruz and whoever else you're starting for the New York Giants. Chris survived even though he had -1 points from his Minnesota defense. So guys like Wade Knutson and Tad Trotter and Trottier and all those guys from my old league that were not in this year. So, hey, congrats to Chris and Jeremy on squeaking out some wins, and for Scott and Ed, the agony. Let's move on to matchups this week. Jayhawks West, Lecompton Hood Rats come into town. It's Jeff Hyman. Yeah, it's too easy to make that joke, but yeah. Bye week blues for both of us, man, including me, I'll be honest with you. I had to drop 4 guys this week, and I still have 6 starters that are sitting this week. So it's been horrible for me in this league. It's what? We got the Giants, the Phillies, or the Eagles, excuse me. They're the ones that are really killing people. New England's on bye. It's a tough week overall for matchups. Cincy's on bye as well. I love A.J. Green. He's in a couple of my leagues. Jeff, unfortunately, has to go with Matt Stafford over Tom Brady. What a drop in performance there. So Congrats to you, Jeff. I think you'll probably get the win this week. Long distance league, I go up against Flicker Tails Mike Gross, fresh off a vacation in St. Lucia. I won't say anything more than Mike wins. He's going to win. It'll be big. Heatherstone against PBR Baiters, Mike Voles. Before I talk about the matchup, that's right, Lerve got his first victory this week. Huggy Heroes eked out a win over Bazinga and Jim Coleman. Thanks, buddy, for letting me have at least one win in the league. I appreciate it. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and tonight I promise I'll let you win in Hold'em if we play each other. But I've got Matt Schaub that I need to really have a big week here again, and Tim Hightower. I'm starting Tim Hightower. I got the Hightower terrain issue. I don't know who to start. I should start neither, but my team's that horrible. Made a trade this week, got rid of Santana Moss, picked up Peyton Hillis. I know he's hurt. I'm thinking long term. Hopefully, could try and squeak into the playoffs, but it's pretty doubtful here. PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Mike Voles, he wins handily. Big match of the week, Steve Bono, Midgets, Eddie Perrette, top two teams in the league. We're both suffering byes. This has been a grueling matchup forever. We played in the finals, played in the championships. He's won, I've won. It's really a tough matchup. So I need my San Diego running backs to have a big game. Eddie needs his kicker. That's right. His kicker is projected to be the second highest scoring fantasy points for his team. So I really need Cam Newton to not have a great game. He needs to let the running backs take control and actually score for a change. I'm starting 4 running backs. He's starting 2 overall. We'll see what happens there. I like my team a little bit better. I think I'll end up getting the matchup done and end up staying in first place in Steve Bono's league. Well, it's been a short version here of Lerve Swerve, live from Occupy Lervekins here at 5342. Hope you had a great week and your fantasy football team goes well and does well this week. And yes, this is my sexy I'm on a blanket pose. I didn't have anything else. I don't own a tent. I don't own a tent. We'll see you next week. Lerve's Fantasy Swerve, Week 7.